Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Are you ready for this one? Because we're about to get into it. And I'm still laughing. I need to grab a drink before we talk about this one, though. Let's get it going. All right, here we go. Welcome back to the show. Of course, I am John, the creative blue-collar guy. And have you heard about this one? Have you been following this one? Because I have. It didn't take long for this story to unfold. I've got about maybe 3 topics I want to hit real quick here. First and foremost, Mr. Neil Young, who I think, unfortunately, overestimated his relevance in the year 2022. And with our Spotify crowd who loves the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. So I read about this maybe 2 days ago. Neil Young comes out and he says, he gives Spotify an ultimatum. He says, I want you to remove all of my music from Spotify because Joe Rogan is out there spreading misinformation. Now, if people disagree, people have different opinions, I totally get that. I understand. Not everybody loves Joe Rogan. Not everyone agrees with what he thinks and believes and says. Not everyone agrees with what his guests have been coming on and saying. Not everybody agrees with everything that Neil Young thinks and says and believes. You know, it's okay. We can disagree. But the writer of Keep on Rockin' in the Free World was advocating for censorship. So, Neil Young goes to Spotify and he says, you can either have my music on Spotify or you can have Joe Rogan. You cannot have both. Well, Spotify sides with Joe Rogan and agrees to remove Neil Young's music from service.
I love this moment so much I want to have sex with it.
I don't think that's the result he was expecting. But I think it's absolutely hilarious. I read, I think yesterday, that Neil Young had actually previously removed a portion of his catalog from Spotify in previous years, in the way back times, before we had all this stuff about arguing over misinformation and whatever. He claimed that the audio quality that Spotify offered in their digital online streaming service app that you can get on your phone, that the quality was not up to par, that it wasn't good enough. Now look, I'm a musician. I've taken recording studio classes just kind of for fun, and I've learned a little bit of the ins and outs of this stuff. And I agree that back in probably the earlier years of his career, when everyone was still recording on 2-inch tape and all of that, analog will always sound better. Yes, it doesn't last as long. It wears out. And a lot of times when you listen to a record, it sounds like someone's cooking bacon in the background. But overall, analog is a natural frequency. It's a natural sound. So it will always sound better than digital. Digital is an artificial signal trying to replicate a natural sound that exists in nature. Yeah. So he said, your quality isn't good enough. I want some of my music taken off of Spotify. But then he relented later and said, well, this is where people are getting their music from. And a lot of people are going to hate me for this one, but here I go. You can argue about Spotify's quality all day long, Neil Young, but it ain't going to make your voice sound better. Unpopular opinion, Neil Young sucks. I don't understand how he has had a successful music career. People say, oh, he's a really great lyricist. He wrote really great lyrics, really great words, songs, great poet. One friend said that he was a really great guitarist that supposedly, because I mean, most of the time he's just kind of strumming chords and playing his harmonica and stuff. But I guess there's some sort of rumor going around that I've never heard that he was supposed to be on like Jimi Hendrix level of guitar talent, and that's fine. Maybe he needs to just stay in the back and play guitar and let someone else sing, but I don't get it. I'm sorry. You can send me all the hate mail on that one. You can sound off in the comments and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, whatever. I'll take it. I'll take all the hate. I don't get it. I don't understand why he ever became popular or successful. So there's that. There's topic number one. Spotify sides with Joe Rogan. Good job, Spotify. Good job on you. Because Joe Rogan specifically came over to Spotify because YouTube was censoring him. Kind of ironic that now I'm going to put this video up on YouTube, but as long as I avoid those certain buzzwords, it might be okay. I thought it was somewhere around a $1 million deal. Someone else told me it was a $100 million deal. I probably should have looked up the information before clicking record, but here we are. Whatever the case, there was a lot of money involved in Joe Rogan switching over to Spotify and actually becoming exclusive to Spotify. That's it. He says, you want to listen to me? And you can watch the video. He's got the video loaded on Spotify as well. So it's just like watching it on YouTube. I usually just put my phone back in my pocket and listen. But there was a lot of money involved in this. The Joe Rogan Experience is by far the most listened to podcast on Spotify. So for Neil Young to go up against him, I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And sure enough, less than 48 hours after the story breaking, here we are. Next story on the docket. This one, I'm a little bit behind the curve on this one, but something else just came out recently that I read today that I thought was kind of hilarious. It's all going to tie together. Bear with me. So I'm sure a lot of people watching me or listening, or even if you're new, make sure to like and subscribe. And again, you can tell me how much you disagree with me and hate me in the comments. Just let me know you're there. But I think most of the people that are probably watching this right now have already heard this story. Carhartt, even though the Supreme Court, all these different judges, everything, every step of the way, all of these, the jab mandates, I'm going to try to avoid certain buzzwords here, they've all been shot down by courts. So they've determined it's unconstitutional, it's illegal, it violates people's rights, it's whatever. On a federal level, they're no longer mandating that for people to keep their job, get a new job, whatever. Carhartt came back and said, hold my beer. So they said, we are still going to require this of our employees because we think it's the best way to keep people safe at work and at home. Excuse me a second. And amidst all the backlash that I can imagine that they got, people were calling it boycott Carhartt because typically, who wears Carhartt? Farmers, people who like to hunt, people who like to fish, people who work in construction, a lot of blue-collar jobs. And I'm not trying to necessarily pigeonhole people. I've worked with people of all walks of life and different worldviews throughout my life. But for the most part, a lot of people that are in hard-working, blue-collar types of jobs, even if they're not hard, right conservatives, they're not liberals. They're not leaning that way because they actually work for a living and earn their money and pay their own way. But I digress. After all the backlash, people were saying, boycott Carhartt. We're going to make them, we're hit them in the wallet, hit them where it hurts until they realize read the room and know who your audience is. Well, they just doubled down and they said, Carhartt holds firm on employee, that word, mandate. We stand behind our decision. American workwear company Carhartt is standing by its decision to mandate that for employees, even as critics have threatened to boycott the company. The clothing firm told employees that a company mandate on that would be required despite a Supreme Court ruling against a federal mandate for private companies in the U.S. Quote, we stand behind our decision because we believe this is necessary to protect our workforce. So all of a sudden now it's bad enough we have the government trying to tell us what we should do, whatever. Now we need our employers to play mommy and daddy for us. This is the point in the video where I like to clarify that I am not a doctor, I am not a medical or health expert, and I am not giving medical advice. I will never come on here and tell you what you should do or should not do. I am simply saying, when it becomes a choice between do this thing or lose your job, do this thing or be unable to pay your bills, do this thing or be unable to feed your family, then I start to have a problem. You do whatever you feel is best for you and your safety and your health and what you think you need to do to maintain those things, and let me do the same, and we'll be all good. So I'm not giving out medical advice. I'm not telling people what they should do. But even after the Supreme Court strikes this down and says no, there's no longer going to be a federal mandate, a company that makes, I mean, for the most part, for better or worse, they call themselves an American workwear company. And again, I'm not saying that every working man or woman or every blue collar person out there is a conservative or is an anti that, but I think a lot of them are. If I had to guess, it sounds like a lot of people that typically buy and wear Carhartt are people who also kind of align with, we'll just say pro freedom. Let's take political parties out of the whole thing. We'll just say people that are just pro freedom and say, don't tell me what to do. I won't tell you what to do. We'll hang out and have a beer and everything will be cool. Which leads me to my third story. I'm going to try to keep this brief. Starbucks! Oh man, this one. I think I read both of these articles in the same day, and that's why it makes me chuckle. So Carhartt and a lot of their conservative fans, or at least I should rather say a lot of their pro-freedom fans. As I've already stated multiple times, I know a lot of people that are more moderates, libertarians, independents, whatever, just people that just want their own freedom of choice. Starbucks, on the other hand, they have read the room in the opposite direction, and it blew up in their faces just as much, which I kind of also think was equally as hilarious, in that Starbucks was requiring this thing of their employees to keep their jobs. After the Supreme Court shot down the federal mandate, Starbucks reversed it, and they came back and said, "Okay, we're no longer going to require this." And now, because they're not requiring it, there has been massive backlash from customers and employees. I'm sorry, this is just so hilarious to me. There's one paragraph I read. Basically, just, I mean, there's the headline, and then there's some quotes about it. They said, we respect the court's ruling and will comply. Chief Operating Officer and Group President for North America at Starbucks sent a memo to employees. Even without the ruling, the vast majority of Starbucks, over 200,000 strong U.S. employees, are now fully... the executive added. But the coffee giant's reversal isn't sitting well with some customers and a subset of its workforce. In recent days, the hashtag boycott Starbucks trended on Twitter, with some social media users refusing to patronize a place which does not require employee... Okay. So we have a workwear company that is going to continue requiring it, even though the federal government said we're not. Their customers boycott. You have a garbage coffee company. Yeah, I said it. Buy your own coffee and make it at home. Really, like, Starbucks sucks anyways. And I thought that a long time ago, before any of this political jargon. Now you have people boycotting a garbage coffee company because they're not requiring it of the employees. And then, of course, finally, I want to go back just to my favorite, because this headline still just makes me laugh. Oh, Mr. Neil Young, who's trying to strong-arm Spotify into canceling Joe Rogan. How'd that go for you, Mr. Young? Oh, boy. So there you have it. There's just sort of, hey, 2 videos in one day. Who this? There's just sort of your quick rundown of some articles that I've been reading while I should be working, while I'm at work, that just have me really thinking, man, up is down, right is left. What is just... Oh, idiocracy is becoming a reality. It really is. If you haven't seen the movie Idiocracy, I highly recommend it, because It's funny, it's entertaining, but it's becoming more and more terrifying as time goes by that it's become real. All right, and very quickly before I go, I almost forgot. I actually had 4 topics that I intended to quickly cover in this video, so it's going to be a little bit longer than I intended, but hopefully you're sticking in there with me. Probably not a band that a whole lot of people care about. This doesn't quite qualify as my band you've probably never heard of, because I know a lot of people have heard of Mudvayne. But, dun dun dun, Mudvayne's Chad Gray had that on stage at first reunion show. So yes, he was sick. He had the virus of unknown origins, as our friend Roman likes to call it, at their first reunion show. And if you're not following any of these stories with Mudvayne, if you're not a child of the early 2000s, actually, I guess I'm not even really a child of the early 2000s. I was in high school by then. Anyways, I've been listening to Mudvayne for a very, very long time. I wouldn't say since day one, but since their single Dig came out, and I think that was 2000 or 2001. Been a fan ever since. So when they reunited, that was big news in my world. But they've only been playing big festivals that are in very specific large towns. And while I do live in somewhat of a big city, I'm just about 2 to 3 hours south of an even bigger city. And even they're not going there. But I digress. Mudvayne's Chad Gray, we'll paraphrase and say, was sick on stage at first reunion show. Let's see how long it takes him to get canceled for this. Last year, Mudvayne played their first reunion show at the Incarceration Music and Tattoo Festival in Mansfield, Ohio. Singer Chad Gray notably struggled on stage, and in a new interview, he revealed he actually had that virus during the performance, but was unaware at the time despite experiencing numerous symptoms. So I've actually looked up a handful of videos from this first performance. I wouldn't go so far as to say that he was noticeably whatever. I thought they put on a terrific performance just from the cell phone videos and fan-made videos that I had seen. This is probably sensationalized a little bit. Let's continue. Quote, I think on a level, it's hard to say. I think I had it light, but I think I had C-word light. Gray told Danny Wimmer presence in an interview from last year's Welcome to Rockville Festival that was just published. But dude, it effing wiped me out, he said, of the impact the virus had on him. I had it on stage, he continued, explaining the good thing is I didn't know I had it at the festival. So I wasn't stressing about it, but I couldn't figure out what was going on with my body. That day, I was super short of breath. My voice didn't seem to want to work when I warmed up. My throat was super dry all day. I had some sinus stuff going on that I didn't know. So you want to get to the juicy part, because there's a part here where I think he's probably going to end up getting canceled, because he doesn't say the thing that all the other celebrities and musicians and all, he's not a Hollywood guy, but I'll just say all the Hollywood people, all the musicians, all the artists, he doesn't say the thing that everyone else is telling people to say. Let's just skip a little bit here. Skip a bit, brother. The only thing you can do is feed your body good things. He goes on to say, quote, my wife went to the, I don't know, parentheses supermarket chain. I'm just going to cut some of this stuff out. Here we go. I'm going to try to read through this without having to cut out all the paraphrase and whatever. My wife went to Sprouts. Sprouts is a supermarket chain. I don't know if it's, he doesn't live in California, so it's probably not specifically to California. Rewind. My wife went to the supermarket chain Sprouts, and apparently they have a cornucopia of feel better stuff for your immunity. She went and cleaned them out. I was probably taking 30 pills a day, vitamins, all the vitamins, but probably 30 something or other in pill form, he said, of the wellness treatment he sought. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. Corey Taylor of Slipknot, Stone Sour, solo artist, also got this virus. Recovered quickly, was back on stage with Slipknot, screaming his head off, singing, acting like nothing happened. But he came back and he praised the jab, saying, "Oh, well, if it hadn't been for that, it could have been so much worse. I could have blah, blah, blah." We've all heard this. Jonathan Davis, singer from Korn. I should have looked up and pulled up that story because I don't necessarily know if he praised the so-called experimental blah, 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 whatever. But this is an article I just came across today. Just like when I was flipping through and was kind of finding the stuff about Neil Young, still makes me laugh my ass off. Carhartt, which has been boiling for a few days, the Starbucks thing. But then I came across this, and I thought, Mudvayne isn't really famous enough to ruffle any feathers. I don't think many people are going to take notice of this, but if they're going to continue to play shows and play big festivals and things of that sort, I wonder if the fact that he basically said his wife went and got a lot of vitamins and natural things from a store from Sprouts that specializes a little more in kind of things being a little bit more natural, a little bit more raw, a little bit more organic, but not going on to say whether or not he's had the jab, not to praise the jab for that's the thing that kept him out of the hospital, whatever. I'm kind of curious to see if, as time goes on and they want to do more big festivals and more big reunion shows, because as far as I know right now, Mudvayne isn't really planning any tours to do a tour as a headlining band. It's more of they're on this festival, they're on this show, they're on this traveling road show. If more people get wind of this and are going to come back and attack him, cancel him, shame him, whatever, because he didn't praise the almighty experimental thing to keep him out of the hospital. Instead, no, he took vitamins and he took care of himself and he did healthy things. So this is just my one last story that I almost forgot about. Wanted to throw in here real quick. So again, I apologize for this being a little bit of a longer solo video than I normally intend to. Hopefully I can edit it down, make it a little bit more manageable. But there you have it. Just another example of somebody who, I'm not even necessarily going to say that, oh, they beat it or they this or they that or whatever. They didn't do the woke Hollywood narrative of saying, oh, well, thank God I got the thing and it made it so much better, because you don't know. You don't know. And you never will know, because if you got it after you got the jab, you'll never actually know what your body would have done had it not been for the other thing. Anyways, as always, I'm John, the creative blue collar guy. Thank you guys so much for being here with me and watching this far through. Make sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe, like this video, ring the bell for notifications. Let me know what you think in the comments. I will take all comments, positive and negative. Send me all the hate mail you want. Just sound off and let me know what you're thinking. And we will see you in the next video. Remember, it's not stupid if it works. Thanks for being here.